requested by the General Assembly. The Court then outlines the general context of the opinion. It recalls the historical background of the situation with regard to the occupied Palestinian territory. The Court next discusses how the United Nations, and in particular the General Assembly, became involved in the provision of humanitarian assistance to Palestine refugees, both Arab and Jewish. It notes inter alia the establishment of UNRWA in 1949 and the commencement of its operations in 1950. On 14 June 1967, UNRWA and Israel concluded a provisional agreement concerning assistance to Palestine refugees in the occupied Palestinian territory, to which I shall refer as the 1967 agreement. The 1967 agreement provided that UNRWA would continue its assistance to Palestine refugees with the full cooperation of Israeli authorities in the West Bank and Gaza Strip areas, and that Israel would facilitate the task of UNRWA to the best of its ability, listing a number of commitments taken on by Israel. According to the United Nations, over its 75-year history, UNRWA has become a pivotal agency for relief and assistance to Palestine refugees in the occupied Palestinian territory. Its mandate has been extended pursuant to successive General Assembly resolutions, the most recent of which extended the mandate of UNRWA until 30 June 2026. The Court observes that other UN agencies, United Nations agencies and bodies, specialized agencies, international organizations, and third states also provided assistance in or in relation to the occupied Palestinian territory. The Court then recalls that on 7 October 2023, Hamas and other armed groups present in the Gaza Strip carried out attacks in Israel, killing more than 1,200 people, injuring thousands, and abducting 251, some of whom continued to be held hostage for more than 2 years. Following these attacks, Israel launched a large-scale military operation in the Gaza Strip by land, air, and sea, which has caused massive casualties, including the deaths of tens of thousands of civilians, a large number of whom were women and children, extensive destruction of civilian infrastructure, and the repeated displacement of the overwhelming majority of the civilian population in the Gaza Strip. In the course of its military campaign, Israel has substantially restricted and for significant periods of time, including between 2 March and 18 May 2025, completely prevented the entry of aid into the Gaza Strip and its distribution to the Palestinian population, with catastrophic consequences for this population. The United Nations reported numerous attacks on school buildings and healthcare facilities in the Gaza Strip, operated by the United Nations and others, including school buildings that have been directly hit. The Secretary General of the United Nations has stated that between 7 October 2023 and 20 August 2025, at least 531 aid workers, including 366 United Nations personnel, 360 of whom were employed by UNRWA, have been killed in the Gaza Strip. In January 2024, Israeli authorities alleged that a number of UNRWA employees had been involved in the 7 October 2023 attacks, that UNRWA premises have been appropriated by Hamas for military purposes, and that UNRWA had long lost its neutrality. The United Nations immediately took steps to investigate these allegations. In this connection, the Court discusses the investigations conducted by the Office of Internal Oversight Services of the United Nations, to which I shall refer as the OIOS, and the investigation by an independent panel set up to assess whether UNRWA was taking all reasonable steps to ensure its neutrality. Notwithstanding these steps, Israel has maintained its complaints about UNRWA. On 28 October 2024, the Parliament of Israel, the Knesset, adopted two laws entitled the Law to Cease UNRWA Operations and the Law to Cease UNRWA Operations in the Territory of the State of Israel, respectively. The Court notes that the second of these laws purports to apply to East Jerusalem. By a letter dated 3 November 2024, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel informed the President of the General Assembly that Israel had withdrawn its request to UNRWA to provide humanitarian assistance to Palestinians pursuant to the 1967 agreement. According to Israel, that agreement was terminated. By a letter dated 24 January 2025, Israel informed the Secretary General that UNRWA had to cease its operations in East Jerusalem and evacuate its premises there no later than 30 January 2025. The two laws on UNRWA adopted by Knesset entered into force on that date. The Court recalls that Israel did not allow any aid to reach the Gaza Strip from 2 March until 18 May 2025. Since 19 May 2025, the Israeli authorities have allowed the United Nations to resume the delivery of limited aid into the Gaza Strip.